The war in Ukraine, it's been a real downer, hasn't it? Like finding out your favorite band is actually just Nickelback in disguise. But hold on to your hats, folks, because there might be a light at the end of this very long, very dark tunnel. Peace talks. Yes, you heard that right. Talks. About peace. They're happening in Saudi Arabia, which seems like an odd choice, but hey, maybe all that desert sand will encourage some level-headedness. Or maybe they just got a really good deal on catering. The point is, representatives from the US and Russia are going to be in the same room. Will they be shaking hands and singing Kumbaya? Probably not. But hey, baby steps, people. The world is watching, hoping against hope that maybe, just maybe, these talks will lead to something, anything, to stop the bloodshed. Because let's be honest, the alternative doesn't bear thinking about. So who are these brave souls venturing into the diplomatic Thunderdome? On one side, we've got Team America, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a man whose foreign policy experience can be summed up as once went to Epcot, and really liked the Mexico Pavilion. Joining him are National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff, and a whole bunch of other guys in suits who probably have top-secret screensavers on their laptops. And then there's Russia, led by, well, we don't actually know for sure. They're keeping their cards close to their chest, those sneaky Russians. But you can bet Vladimir Putin will be watching the whole thing unfold on a giant screen in his underground bunker, probably stroking a hairless cat and muttering something about the motherland. Now you might be thinking, hold on a minute, this is a war about Ukraine, shouldn't Ukraine be at these talks? And you'd be right. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine and a man who can rock a military t-shirt like nobody's business, is not happy. He's basically saying, if you want to talk about my country, you better talk to me. And he's got a point. It's like trying to organize a surprise party for someone and forgetting to invite the birthday boy. It's just rude. Zelensky is adamant. Any deal made without Ukraine's involvement is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. He's not backing down, and frankly, who can blame him? Meanwhile, across the pond, Europe is feeling a little left out. Like that kid at school who always gets picked last for dodgeball. They're worried that the US and Russia might strike a deal that benefits them, but leaves Europe holding the bag. And let's be real, Europe has been through a lot lately. They've got the refugee crisis, economic woes, and let's not even get started on Brexit. The last thing they need is another international incident. So, French President Emmanuel Macron, a man who looks like he could be in a boy band but is actually really good at diplomacy, is calling an emergency summit of European leaders. They're going to try to figure out how to make their voices heard and ensure that whatever happens, Europe doesn't get thrown under the metaphorical bus. Again. Section 5. Bombs away. The conflict rages on. But amidst all this talk of peace and diplomacy, let's not forget that there's still a war going on. Russia is still bombing Ukraine. People are still dying. It's a sobering reminder that while peace talks are a step in the right direction, there's still a long way to go. Just recently, there was an attack in Mykolaiv that left thousands of people without power. Imagine that, no lights, no heat, no internet, all while your country is being invaded. Talk about adding insult to injury. It's a stark reminder that this conflict is far from over. Even if the peace talks are successful, it will take years, if not decades, for Ukraine to rebuild and heal. Section 6, Landmine Legacy, a ticking time bomb. And then there's the issue of landmines. Those nasty little surprises that can blow your leg off if you step in the wrong place. Ukraine is now littered with them, making it incredibly dangerous for civilians and hindering any efforts to rebuild. Experts estimate that a quarter of Ukraine's landmass is contaminated with landmines. That's a lot of explosives just waiting to go off. It's going to take years and a lot of money to clear them all. The landmine problem is a tragic legacy of this conflict, one that will continue to haunt Ukraine long after the guns have fallen silent. It's a grim reminder of the true cost of war, a cost that will be paid for generations to come. Section 7. Beyond Ukraine, the bigger picture. The war in Ukraine is more than just a regional conflict. It's a proxy war between the US and Russia, a clash of ideologies and a battle for global influence. The outcome of this conflict will have far-reaching consequences for the entire world. If Russia is successful in conquering Ukraine, it will embolden other authoritarian regimes around the world. China, in particular, will be watching closely. If Putin can get away with redrawing the map of Europe by force, what's to stop Xi Jinping from doing the same in Asia? On the other hand, if Ukraine can successfully resist Russian aggression, it will send a powerful message that the days of empires are over. It would be a victory for democracy and self-determination. But it's a big if. Section 8. What does the future hold? Uncertainty reigns. So, what does the future hold for Ukraine? Honestly, your magic 8-ball is probably as accurate as any expert right now. The situation is incredibly fluid and unpredictable. The outcome of the peace talks is uncertain. The fighting could escalate, or it could drag on for years, a grinding war of attrition that leaves both sides exhausted and broken. One thing is for sure, the world is watching, and hoping that peace will prevail, hoping that Ukraine will be free, hoping that sanity will eventually return to this crazy, mixed-up world. Section 9, and finally, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, the situation in Ukraine is bleak, but even in the darkest of times it's important to hold on to hope. Hope for peace, hope for a better future, and hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity can learn from its mistakes and create a world where war is no longer an option. Because let's be honest, the only thing worse than a world at war is a world where we've given up on peace altogether. And that, my friends, is a thought too terrible to contemplate.